I got approved for over $100,000 in 0% interest business credit, and I used it to build my real estate portfolio. That $100,000 covered a rehab on 2 rental properties, and once the renovations were done, I refinanced, pulled the money back out, and paid off the funding. Now, those 2 homes bring in about $2,000 a month in passive income, and I'm not stuck with any high interest debt. No loans, no investors, and none of it impacted my personal credit score. And here's the wild part. I didn't have years in business, I didn't have perfect credit, and I didn't even have a ton of revenue. I just had the right setup and a strategy that most people don't even know exists. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how I did it step by step so you can use the exact same method to start or scale your own business without borrowing from your family, begging from banks, or draining your savings. Alright, so let's get into it. None of this credit funding would have been possible without setting up my business the right way first. And I'm not talking about just forming an LLC and just calling it a day. I mean setting up your business so it's fundable. So when banks or lenders look at it, they see a real company, not just a side hustle. This is where most people mess up, and I almost did too. Because when you're just starting out, you don't realize that how you set up your business decides whether you get a $5,000 limit or a $50,000 limit. So here's what I did step by step. The first thing I did is to set up a business address. This is one of those little details that can make or break your approval odds. I almost used my home address, but I realized that it could have been a huge mistake. Here's why using your home address can actually hurt you. Lenders and credit issuers actually track this stuff. And based on historical data, businesses that use residential addresses, like a house or an apartment, default on loans way more often than businesses with a commercial address. So just having your home listed as a business address can automatically put you in a high risk category, even if you're doing everything else right. And it gets worse if you use a PO box, as most lenders don't accept PO boxes as a legitimate business address. So here's what I did instead. I got a virtual business address. I didn't need a physical office or a storefront. I just needed my business to look professional and credible. I went with a virtual office through iPostal, but you got plenty of options like Opus, Regis, Alliance, and others. These give you a real commercial address, and you can use it on all of your legal documents, your EIN application, your bank account, your credit applications, pretty much everything. And they even receive your mail for you, so it's pretty convenient. So as a pro tip, just make sure that it is a true commercial address, not a UPS store or something disguised as a PO box, because some lenders will catch that. Look for ones labeled as virtual office or executive suites. Those usually pass lenders checks with no issues. Next, I got a separate phone number and a business email. And this might sound small, but trust me, it matters way more than you think. When lenders review your business credit application, they're not just looking at the numbers. They're looking at how real your business appears. Every detail either builds trust or raises red flags. Let's start with the phone number. I didn't use my personal cell or home phone. That's another mistake that could quietly hurt you. It's just like a home address. These businesses default at a higher rate. So here's what I did instead. I used Call8 to set up an actual business line. If you want to elevate it a little bit more, then go for an 800 number. It makes your business look bigger and more legit instantaneously. As a pro tip, just make sure that the number is listed under your business's name and not your personal name. You can even get that number listed with 401, which adds another layer of credibility. Then I set up a business email. I'm not talking about your business name at gmail.com. That just looks a little bit too amateur. I went ahead and bought a domain and created a branded email like info@mycompany.com. It costs us maybe like $10 a month, but it made my business look more real and just an added layer of credibility. Now that I had the appearance and contact info of a real business, it's time to piece it all together and make it official. This is the foundation of everything. Without it, you're limiting the amount of credit that you will get. But forming an LLC isn't just about picking a cool name and filing out a form. There are a few things that you gotta get right from the jump. First, you wanna check if your business is already taken or trademarked. So before I picked my business name, I ran a trademark search on the USPTO website. It does require some work, but it is very important. If you chose a name that's already trademarked, you could get hit with a cease and desist, or worse, a lawsuit. You don't wanna be forced to rebrand your website, email, and bank account just because of a name conflict. Next is that you want to avoid high-risk industry names. Even if your name sounds cool, certain words can automatically get you denied for funding. Lenders look at some industries as high risk, so if your business name includes keywords like credit, loan, real estate, broker, insurance, it can trigger an instant rejection even when everything else is solid. I kept my business name neutral and professional, something clean like Wynn Enterprises, and later I could always file a DBA if I wanted to operate under a different brand. So once I had that name locked in, I filed my LLC with the state. I did it the old school way, but if I were to do it again, I probably would have gone with a service like Busy, which is also formerly known as InkFile. You can file for free and just pay for your state fees. They also included a registered agent for your first year. The next step is that I got an EIN from the IRS. This is basically your business's social security number. So you need this number to open up a business bank account, file taxes, apply for business credit, and pretty much everything else that comes along with running a business. Again, this is totally free and you can get it in about 5 minutes on the IRS's website. So as a pro tip, whenever you apply for your EIN, just make sure that the address on file matches your actual business address. If your IRS has your home address and your bank has your virtual address, lenders might get that confused, and that's a fast way to get flagged or denied. Once I had a legal structure, EIN, business address, phone, and email set up, my next move was open up a business bank account. And this step here is massive. If you're serious about building business credit or getting funding, you cannot skip this step. Here's why it matters so much. The day that you open your business bank account is often considered the official start date of your business, especially by certain lenders. Even if you filed your LLC 6 months ago, but if you open a bank account last week, guess what? Most lenders will treat your business as it just started last week. The sooner you open it, the better it is, because it starts your banking history clock, and it can directly affect how much credit you can qualify for later. Now, this part is obvious, but it is worth repeating. You need to separate your personal and business finances. Mixing them isn't just messy. Lenders want to see clean, organized financials, not Venmo screenshots and mixed up bank accounts. Having a dedicated business checking account shows that you're serious. It gives you clean books, clear expense tracking, and way more credibility when it comes time to applying for funding. As a pro tip, try to pick a bank that you want to build a relationship with. This is a relationship game. The bank that you choose can impact the kind of credit products that you get offered, how high your limits go, and how flexible they are with approvals. A lot of financial institutions, especially credit unions, love working with customers that they already have a relationship with. So ideally, you want to open up a business bank account with a bank that you plan to grow with. If they already see your deposits, your balance, your activity, they're way more likely to extend you credit later. Now, in terms of where to open your account, you got plenty of options. You can go with a big national bank, a credit union, or even one of those newer fintech platforms like Bluevine or Novo. Each one has its own pros and cons. Some are great for rewards, others are better for easy approvals or relationship building. Check the link below for a list of the best business checking accounts right now. For me, I chose a bank where I could build some trust. I wanted to be able to walk in one day and say like, hey, I've been banking with you for quite a while now. What can we do about a business line of credit? So you want to be thinking long-term when picking your bank. This isn't just about having a place to hold your money, it's about building that leverage. So just start off with one, then when you decide about which business cards to go for, you can target those lenders later. So once I had a business bank account set up, I officially had everything in place. My legal entity, EIN, business address, phone, email, and now a real banking relationship. After I have done that, I then applied for my DUNS number. This is like a credit profile ID for your business. Dun & Bradstreet issues it, and you can get one for free from the website, and it just takes a few minutes. You will need this if you want to build business credit. And again, just make sure that your name and address matches exactly what you use when you form your LLC and opening your bank account. Lenders won't always tell you why you got denied, but 9 out of 10 times, it's simply because something didn't match. So it is super important during the steps when you're setting up your business to make sure everything lines up. Now, step 7 is choosing the right industry code, also known as NAICS code. Now, this last part is something that most people don't even think about, but it can quietly make or break your ability to get funding. So what I'm talking about here is your industry code, officially known as your NAICS code. It stands for North American Industry Classification System. It's basically a 6-digit number that tells lenders what type of business that you run. Every legit business has one, whether you're in real estate, e-commerce, consulting, trucking, or pretty much anything else. Lenders use your NAICS code to assess how risky your business is. Some industries are seen as higher risk, such as credit repair, cannabis, car dealers, or travel agencies. Others, like consulting or B2B services, are viewed as lower risk. You can find a full list linked down below. Now, when you're first starting out, your NAICS code may not seem like a big deal. In fact, you probably won't get asked about it until you start applying. That's why it is smart to think about it now and not later. You don't want to misrepresent your business, of course, but many businesses qualify for multiple categories. Now, with everything in place, let's move on to the next step, which is leveraging your personal credit. Forget what you heard about net 30 vendors or waiting months for random trade lines to show up. That's a slow road. The fastest and most effective way to get large amounts of business funding without paying interest is by leveraging your own personal credit the right way. Here's what most people don't realize. Even though business credit cards report to your business credit profile, your approval is still based on your personal credit, especially for any type of funding that's worthwhile. So if your personal credit is good, you can unlock 0% business credit fast. And if not, then that's the first thing that you need to fix. Here are the personal credit requirements that I recommend to get approved. A 680 plus FICO score, no negative items, credit usage under 30%, ideally under 10%, 7 to 10 primary accounts, 3+ personal credit cards with $5,000 limits, one card from a tier 1 bank with a 10K limit. So think about Chase, Bank of America, Citi, or Wells Fargo. At least one account that's 2 years old, $15,000 in total available credit, 3 or fewer inquiries per bureau in the last 6 months, and 3 or fewer newer revolving accounts within the last 6 months. If you check all of those boxes, you're ready to start applying for 0% business credit cards. If your credit isn't quite there, then don't worry. Most people just need 1 to 6 months of cleaning up or optimization. You can start by adding 2 to 3 authorized user trade lines that are at least 5 years old. That will boost your age and utilization fast. And if you got derogatory marks or negatives holding you back, you can start the credit repair repair process. I do have a software called Credit Rehab Pro. It's a DIY credit repair software that I put together to help you clean up your credit the easiest way possible without paying crazy fees or getting scammed by shady credit repair companies. I'm not gonna pitch it hard, so check the link down below or scan this QR code if you need help fixing your credit. So once my personal credit was dialed in, I moved into the funding phase. And this is where all that preparation goes into motion. Just within a few weeks, I was able to get approved for over $100,000 in business credit cards with 0% interest offers that gave me up to 18 months to use that money. I use this funding to help me grow my real estate portfolio, but you can use this strategy for any type of business, whether you're flipping properties, scaling an e-com brand, or just launching a new startup. The first thing that you need to understand is that business credit cards are different from personal credit cards, but in a good way. Most don't report to your personal credit profile, so your utilization stays low. They often come with higher limits, and when you know how to apply, you can stack multiple approvals quickly. I specifically went after banks that had a strong 0% APR promotion. These are cards that let you borrow money with no interest from 6 to 18 months. This gives you time to use your funds, grow your business, and pay it off without getting hit with interest. Some of the cards I personally like to target includes Chase Ink cards, American Express Blue Business cards, US Bank, and Citizens Bank. These are solid lenders with strong approval history and good intro offers if your personal credit is where it needs to be. Next is that I applied in a strategic sequence, also known as a funding sequence. This is a key concept in the business funding space. A funding sequence is basically a planned application run where you apply for multiple business cards in a short time frame, usually every 6 months. The goal is to spread out applications across banks that pull from different credit bureaus, so you don't stack too many inquiries in one report. So here's how I did it. Since I live in California and based on my region, I knew that Chase and American Express were gonna be pulling from Experian. So I started with those first, then I move on to US Bank, which pulls from TransUnion, and finally Citizens Bank, which pull from Equifax for me. Keep in mind that what bureau pulls which depends on where you live. Someone in Florida or New York might see different results than I did in California. As a rule of thumb, you don't want more than 2 hard inquiries per bureau during a funding sequence. That gives you the best odds of approval and the highest possible limits. So here's an example funding sequence that you can use. For Experian, aim for Chase or American Express. For TransUnion, aim for US Bank or GM Financial. For Equifax, aim for KeyBank or Truist. If you want to know even more lenders that pull from which bureau, I have a database with over 700 banks and credit unions. You'll find national lenders and lenders that may only apply to you in your state. So you can find the link down in the description, or you can scan this QR code. So once I got approved, I used the business credit cards to fund my real estate investments. One of the most common ways was to use them to pay for renovations. Now, with most contractors and vendors, they don't accept credit card payments, but you can get around that using services like Plastique or Melio. These platforms allow you to pay vendors via wire or ACH, even if you're just paying with a credit card. So your vendor gets the cash and your card gets charged like a regular purchase. But there's usually a fee around like 2.9%. So if you're paying $30,000 for renovations, you're looking at around $900 in fees. But when you're using 0% interest credit, that is still way cheaper than taking out a loan. Now, if you're in a business like e-commerce or coaching, where most of your expenses can go directly on a credit card, then this becomes an absolute no-brainer. If you're someone who needs cash on hand from your credit cards, not just vendor payments, there are liquidation services for that. The one I'm partnered with is called MF Capital. They help you turn your business credit into working capital by liquidating your card at a fee. So the fee is usually around 6%. So if you have $100,000 available in credit, you can liquidate up to 90% of that and walk away with $90,000 cash minus the fee. This is still better than most unsecured loans, which can carry anywhere between 10 to 20% interest or more. So even though there is a fee, the flexibility gives you an easy path of capital. You don't have to be in business for 2 years plus or show documents, so you have to weigh the pros and cons. So everything that I covered in this video, you can definitely do yourself, but I know that some business owners just don't have the time to learn every detail, time their applications, or deal with different banks. So this is where funding companies come in. These are professionals who know exactly how to do this for you and often work with insider bank reps who can process your applications internally instead of a public link. So that gives you a higher chance of approval, bigger limits, and way less hassle. One company that I personally recommend is Fund & Grow. You might have heard of them. They're actually one of the biggest players in the space. If you want to work with them, I got a special link that gives you $500 off of their program. You can find it down in the description or by scanning this QR code. Again, you can do this 100% on your own, but if time is your most valuable asset, it might be worth reaching out to see how they can help. Now, if you want to know lenders that will approve a new LLC up to $50,000 with no docs, check out this video over here.